Now the next question is, what is the tenure of casual vacancy director? The tenure of the casual vacancy director is the tenure of the original director in whose place he got appointed. So under section 161(4) you have this point. Explain the restriction on number of directorship. What are all the companies excluded from counting the same limit? So the restriction on number of directorships is, so public companies, you have only 10 public companies you can be directors. Totally you can be director in 20 companies, out of which maximum 10 public companies. So you can be even director of 20 private companies. What are the companies excluded from the ceiling limit is section 8 companies excluded. Then body corporate, which is a foreign company, which is not a company registered in India, is excluded. When will the resignation of the directors become effective? The resignation of the directors become effective immediately on giving the resignation letter. So for example, on the day of board meeting, if the director gives the resignation, immediately it will take effect. So this is given under section 168. For example, if we already mentioned any future date, the resignation will take from that date. If there is no future date is given, if it is, say for example, today they have given the resignation, then it takes immediately. The effect is immediate. Then a listed company wants to appoint a person as small shareholder director who's already holding SSD position in two companies. Is that possible? See, a listed company wants to appoint small shareholders director who is already small shareholder director in two companies. See, a person can be SSD in two companies, so he is already SSD in two companies. One person can be SSD in two companies, but these two companies should not be competing each other. Section 151 says this. So since he is already holding directorship in two companies, SSD position in two companies, he cannot be SSD in the third company. Original directors is out of country for a period of 5 months. Can board appoint alternate director if article is silent? Original director is out of the country for a period of more than 3 months. Hence, the board can appoint alternate director. Now, article is silent, that is the question. As per section 161(2), article should provide for this. If not, you have to amend the articles or you have to pass ordinary resolution. Because if article provides only, the board can do. Otherwise, only ordinary resolution can do. Explain provision regarding time limit for filling woman director's vacancy. What is the time? 3 months or next board meeting, whichever is later. That is the time limit for filling woman director's vacancy position, which is given under section 149 subsection 1 proviso. Then section 8 companies wants to increase the number of directors beyond 15. Is special resolution required? No, special resolution is not required. Even ordinary resolution is not required. Section 8 company has exemption. This is given in section 149 subsection 1, exception to section 8 companies. Public limited company having paid up capital 10 crores. State whether independent director needs to be appointed. Independent directors provision under section 149 subsection 4. Public limited company having paid up capital 10 crores or more, or turnover 100 crores or more, or loans, borrowing, debentures, deposit 50 crores. 50 crores. I forgot. 10, 100, 50 crores only. So in this scenario, this company is having paid up capital 10 crores. So hence independent director is needed. Then public company having paid up capital 2 crores, whether independent directors need to be appointed? No, not needed. Then whether KMP needs to be KMP can be appointed as independent director? No, KMP cannot be appointed as independent director. This is given in section 149 subsection 4 to 6. Person together with his relative holds 3% shares in a company. Can they be appointed as independent director? Answer is it is crossing 2%, hence they cannot be appointed as independent director, because up to 2% it is possible, beyond that it's not possible. Then A listed company has 5,000 shareholders. It receives notice to appoint a SSD from 400 small shareholders, but board refuses. Is it valid? Under section 151, if the notice is received from 1/10 or 1000, whichever is less in number. So 1/10 of 5000 is 500, or 1000, whichever is less. That means minimum 500 has to send this, but only 400 sent this, so board can refuse. It is valid. State applicability of woman director in the following provision. Company is listed, unlisted public company, having paid up capital 50 crores or more, turnover 200 crores or more. State applicability of woman director. Listed company mandatory. Unlisted public company having paid up capital 100 crores or more, or turnover 300 crores or more, it is mandatory. In the second question, both are less, so it's not applicable. So this is 149 subsection 1 proviso. Then state procedures regarding changes to DIN particulars, which have been submitted already. Section 153 read with 155. Okay, if you want to do DIN provision changing, DIR 5 form, DIR 6 and 7 form has to be filed. 5 is for surrendering both DIN. If they have more than one DIN, they have to surrender by using 5. So corrections means 6 and 7. Public company having 11 directors, paid up capital 300 crores, turnover 500 crores. Explain the appointment of woman director, independent director. Woman director, yes, applicable because the paid up capital crosses 100 crores. Independent director, yes, obviously applicable because paid up capital crosses 10 crores. So you can write the applicability. Then how many directors has to be appointed? At least one woman director, and 1/3 of the total number of directors shall be sorry, that's just a public company, no, so at least 2 directors should be independent director. If it is a listed company, then you should write 1/3. A person had convicted and imprisoned for a period of 1 year 8 years ago, can he be appointed as director now? See, if a person is convicted for a period of 1 year, that means exceeding 6 months, so and 5 years elapsed from the date of expiry. So under section 164, you all know, if a person convicted for an offence involving moral turpitude or otherwise, and sentenced for imprisonment for a period not less than 6 months, so a period of 5 years has not elapsed from the date of expiry of sentence. Till that time, he is disqualified under section 164(1). Next is Mr. D, director of public company, not filed annual return for 2016, 15 and 14. Can he be appointed as director in XYZ company? So he is already not filed annual accounts and returns for a period of 3 years, hence he should be disqualified. Okay, so since 3 years continuously not filed, they are disqualified. So no more fresh appointment under section 164 subsection 2 clause A. Disqualification for reappointment also includes disqualification for fresh appointment. Mr. F is a director holding directorship in 4 public, 10 private, 2 section 8 company. He received an offer to be appointed in 7 public, 6 private and 2 section 8 companies. Now already 4 public, so how many more public he can get appointed? 6. Okay, already 10 private, so no more private companies he can get appointed, because 10 plus 10. Okay, so 4 plus again 6, so public company limits will be over. Other than that, 10 private companies is there, so he already has 10 private company. So he wants to be appointed in 2, already is in 2 section 8 company, again another 2 section 8 company. Yes, he can get appointed in section 8 company, because the question is given order of preference is first to public company then private company. So if this question is not given that, you can write he can choose from the public and private. Next, Mr. A is appointed as independent. So this 38th question is section 165. Mr. A appointed as independent director for a period of 3 years. Later he got reappointed for a period of 5 years. Can he be reappointed for 2 more years? See, independent director can be appointed for a period of 5 years and they can be reappointed for a period of another 5 years. But there is one more condition. In case if the independent director is appointed for 2 consecutive period, unless otherwise he is going for a cooling period of 3 years, he cannot be appointed as independent director again. So in this question, he first got appointed for a period of 3 years and subsequently consecutively he got appointed for a period of another 5 years. So this is over. So he has to mandatorily go for a cooling period of 3 years. Next, define small shareholder director. What is their appointment procedure? Small shareholders means a person in the listed company holding the shares worth rupees face value 20,000 rupees or less. In case in the listed company there are 1,000 small shareholders, if they ask the board of directors in writing by giving notice signed by 1,000 small shareholders or 1/10 whichever is less, then the board has to appoint one small shareholder director. Okay, now in this video we will stop here, then we will continue in the next part.